After many Raptors fans spent the week linking Damian Lillard in a trade to the team, there could be another Portland Trailblazers guard potentially on the move to Toronto. So in this video, we look at why the Raptors should not trade for CJ McCollum. Let's get into it. Welcome Raptors fans and other NBA fans to Amateur Hour Sports. This is the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 days a week. That is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. This is your Friday upload where we're talking about a CJ McCollum trade to the Toronto Raptors. So if you like what you see from today's video, you want more of myself talking about the Raptors and possibly other NBA teams in videos just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to show your support to the channel. We're getting on our road to 4,000 subscribers, so you can join the movement and get involved. But today's video, we're talking about CJ McCollum and the Raptors' chances of trading for him, and if the Raptors should pursue a trade for the Portland Trailblazers guard. And this, of course, comes off of the Portland Trailblazers losing yet another first-round series in the playoff. I believe that is 4 of the last 5 years that they have lost in the first round of the playoffs, and patience is kind of running thin with the ownership and executives there because they have fired head coach Terry Stotts. I think that was one that was well overdue. Terry Stotts, again, I will say he's a little bit too one-dimensional as a coach on offense, especially in the playoffs, running that ISO ball, very easy to predict on defense. I think that has ultimately been his downfall as a coach. But there could be more changes in Portland because the Portland Trailblazers absolutely want to capitalize on the Damian Lillard era. And it seems like Damian Lillard is not going to pursue asking for a trade, so he is there to stay with 4 years on his contract with the extension about to kick in. And, question marks are kind of surrounding the Portland Trailblazers because there are the pieces in place for that team to be successful. They just can't quite get to the next level. And sure, there was that one conference final to show for it. They did make one conference final in 2019. However, they did get swept in that conference final. However, conference finals, they're no joke. They're not easy to make. And, the Portland Trailblazers at least did it that one time, but they've never really threatened to be an NBA champion. And that's what they really want to get with Damian Lillard at the helm. Damian Lillard is a superstar. He is probably a top 15 player in the NBA and easily, for me, a top 3, if not top 2 point guard in the NBA. So they want to get the right help around him. And question marks are surrounding CJ McCollum as that partner in crime for Damian Lillard because, the guard tandem is kind of falling a little bit out. Unless they are two absolutely elite shooting guard combos, it doesn't always work, and people kind of brand Lillard and McCollum as the DeRozan and Lowry of the Western Conference. Now, I wouldn't put them on that level because, Lowry and DeRozan, both of them were perennial all-stars year after year and actually got out of the first round of the playoffs most of the time, even though they were running to LeBron James Cavaliers team. You could kind of say that CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard are the Lowry DeRozan of the West because those point guard, shooting guard duos don't always fully work out. So maybe the Trailblazers want to try something else. But the problem is, I think that CJ McCollum is destined to be the third option on a championship team. And I think a lot of people can kind of agree with me as I say that. CJ McCollum has the skill set to be the perfect third option on the team. I just don't think he's at the level to be that number 2 to a number 1 guy like Damian Lillard. And the Portland Trailblazers have had so much struggles trying to get that solidified second star for Damian Lillard. And I think part of the problem is going to become CJ McCollum being on that monster contract. And that's one of the reasons why I think the Toronto Raptors should absolutely avoid this trade. This is the reason you got to avoid this trade because Milwaukee is a good example of what happens when you pay a definitive third option that big time money. Chris Middleton, for me, is the perfect third option to a championship team. And I think that we kind of see it every playoff run. And I know we had a great game yesterday against the Nets, but I just don't think Giannis has that proper second option to him. And I think Chris Middleton is that third option, but a very good third option. He's been an all-star, but I just don't think he's that number 2 star that the number 1 option of Giannis needs on the team. But they're paying Chris Middleton max money, so they have no choice but to run with him the second option because they don't really have that money. Drew Holiday is coming, is also making a ton of money, so they're kind of handcuffed there. But the Portland Trailblazers, you've got Damian Lillard about to start that monster contract, and CJ McCollum about to start a 3-year, $100 million contract. He's going to be making $30 million next year, $33 million the following year, and just under $36 million in the year after that. Those are the 3 years equating to $100 million. So already that's not a great contract to build around because, again, I think many people will agree that CJ McCollum has this skill set of a guy who should be the third option on a championship team. And that's no discredit to him. CJ McCollum is a great player. He put up 23 points per game this season on 45% shooting from the field, 40% shooting from three. That is great. And you put that in the Eastern Conference on a good team, that's probably an all-star. And if CJ McCollum ever ends up in the East, only a true good team will want to take on that CJ McCollum contract. So he'd probably be on a good team. Those are all-star numbers in the Eastern Conference, if you ask me. So CJ McCollum goes to the East, he'd be there. But I kind of put him on that fringe all-star category. I don't really think of him as that solidified all-star. I just think if he was in the East, he'd probably get in at least one all-star team. So looking at the contract, looking at what he offers, and no discredit, being a great third option is necessary to a championship caliber team. But the Raptors aren't in the market for that. The Raptors, I'd say they have their perfect second option, Pascal Siakam, one of the best second options in the league, and that is A-OK to be. It's fine that Pascal Siakam is that solidified second option, but he needs that star beside him. And CJ McCollum, to me, isn't that star that you put beside him. It doesn't quite fit that mold. He just isn't quite good enough to be that guy, that killer, that closer, that number one guy you consistently rely on game in, game out, every single play. The third option for the Toronto Raptors for me is OG Anunoby. You could also clump Fred VanVleet into that discussion, but you gotta trade one of those guys if you are going to bring in CJ McCollum. And the problem for the Portland Trailblazers that they may not be willing to accept is that the contract on CJ McCollum is a little bit of a negative part of this trade. And if the Portland Trailblazers are going to move on from CJ McCollum, they got to move that contract, and they got to understand that they are not going to get equal value back for the type of player CJ McCollum is because of that contract. The only way they get equal value is if they lose CJ McCollum and take on a also bad contract. So I think like a potential trade that could happen, just speculating, CJ McCollum could go to the Milwaukee Bucks. They could give Chris Middleton the other way, just kind of shake up both teams. Both teams probably need to shake up. I don't imagine the Bucks will get out of the second round, even though they won yesterday. And the Portland Trailblazers, they need something different. Maybe just add in a forward who can create his own shot instead of a shooting guard. Maybe that will change it up for Damian Lillard. Something to consider, no rumors about that, just kind of speculation on my part. But for a Toronto Raptors trade, what would the Toronto Raptors actually have to give up to bring in CJ McCollum? And I feel like Portland honestly think that CJ McCollum is worth the likes of Pascal Siakam. There is absolutely no chance I would ever consider trading Anunoby as well, because OG is way younger. He's about to be 24 years old, and he is already amazing. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA, one of, if not the best on-ball defenders in the NBA, not to mention how much he's developing that offensive game. And his contract, he's about to start a 4-year, $72 million contract, which, believe me when I say this, oh my goodness, this OG Anunoby contract, just wait. Just think about what this contract is going to look like in 3 years when OG Anunoby is only making like $18, $19 million. This is easily going to look like one of the best contracts in the NBA in 3 years. And I do not want to get rid of that contract for CJ McCollum, who in 3 years is going to have to be paying $36 million. Again, this does not discredit CJ McCollum. He's a fantastic player, but that's a big contract to take on. I wouldn't part with Siakam or OG to get him. So that leaves us with the third piece of that Raptors core trio, Fred VanVleet. Now, Fred VanVleet, would I trade for CJ McCollum? I'd probably consider it, even though Fred VanVleet is on a much better contract. That is something that I, as a Raptors fan, would consider doing. I feel like that would offer us a lot. That's that shooting guard, wing scorer who can create his own shot that maybe we have been lacking. However, looking at the side of the Portland Trailblazers, they would not want Fred VanVleet for CJ McCollum. The idea of trading CJ McCollum is to break up that double guard duo containing CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. So bringing in Fred VanVleet would just be another guard, and an undersized guard at that, to play with Damian Lillard, which probably doesn't help them in giving away CJ McCollum. So that trade doesn't make sense for the Portland Trailblazers. Trading away OG or Siakam for CJ McCollum doesn't make sense for the Toronto Raptors. So there's just not a lot about this trade that makes sense in concerning who we can give up. So if it's not one of those three guys, then maybe it's another guy on the team like Gary Trent. But why would the Portland Trailblazers want that? We'd have to give away a lot of picks as well with Gary Trent in order to get CJ McCollum. So that trade doesn't really make sense for us or them, to be honest, either. So there's not really a lot about this trade that makes sense. Right now, the odds makers, they have the Toronto Raptors as the 6th best favorite to land CJ McCollum in a trade. Now, odds makers, based on their algorithm, their research, they know more than the average basketball fan like myself. But with so many other teams gunning for CJ McCollum, I just don't think the Raptors will be able to put together enough of an enticing offer to actually land CJ McCollum. I think that the Boston Celtics would be a great destination for CJ. But, at the 6th best odds plus 600, we have about a 14% chance of getting CJ McCollum. So if Masai or whoever's in charge, if it's not Masai, if it's Bobby Webster, if they want to make this trade happen, they have the capabilities to make this trade happen. I just don't think there is enough of a middle ground, as both teams are concerned, to make this trade happen. There's just a few reasons why this doesn't work, the personnel that they would want, but the biggest and main reason is that contract that I just don't think the Raptors would want to take on. You just wouldn't be able to put the right pieces around CJ McCollum with that contract. I think that is just the reality, and for that reason, I'm out. So what do you guys make of CJ McCollum in trade rumors? Do you think that the Raptors should pursue him? Do you think they should not? What do you think of his contract? Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that wraps it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, be sure to hit that like button. If you did enjoy the video at any point, goes a long way to helping the YouTube algorithm to help us reach some new viewers. And also follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/amateursports. We do a ton of NBA playoff watch-alongs. We also do a ton of video game content on the side. The link is down below. Enhance your NBA playoff watching experience with a great community of people. Next to my body is the button to subscribe to the channel on our road to 4,000 subscribers. Check out other videos by the channel that you may enjoy, and always remember, at the end of the day, I believe what I say, and if you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.